guys all so much for letting me speak here today. I almost thought, well, I'm really nervous about this, so I thought about bringing my violin up as my security blanket. But, and this morning I was working on, I was going to print out my speech, and my computer was not working, so we're doing this the old-fashioned way, my little teleprompter here. So, well, first I want to tell you guys just a little bit about me. I am a sophomore student at MSU studying economics, and so I go to all my classes, right, and my professors are like, you got to raise taxes to generate revenue and this, that, and the other. I'm like, it doesn't make sense. And so I'm always coming home to my mom being like, this doesn't work, it doesn't make sense. And I always feel like we're always, as students, I'm being bombarded with all of this liberal, progressive ideology. And it's not just in my economics classes. I mean, it's in every single one of my classes. And so coming here to a place like this is just reminding me that there are people who believe like I do. And who are, and it's like this really amazing feeling to not be alone in this fight. Because I feel so outnumbered all the time. But here with this many wonderful people who are willing to show up on a beautiful Saturday morning to listen to a whole bunch of speeches is really encouraging for me. And I just can't tell you guys how much that means to me. So thank you all for being here today. Often on campus, when I'm talking with other students, my friends, I say we can't just, the government cannot continue spending like this. It just can't go on, it's unsustainable. So many people, I get responsible, why not? You can't just keep taking out loans. Did you know that the average college student has $25,000 worth of loans that they've taken out from the government? Okay, so these college students that don't understand that you can't live, that the government has to spend within their means, they aren't living within their means either. So it's one of those things, we don't have to just teach our government how to spend, we have to teach my generation how to spend. It's not just our future, it's our children's future as well. This is something we all have to stand up for together. So I would really encourage you that if any chance you get to speak to a student, don't condemn students for believing the ideology that all of our professors are teaching us. Try and encourage us to help understand what's really going on in the world, because there's just so much misinformation that is given to us. So, and I have to say, I love the Bozeman Tea Party for that, because I walked in there and they have always welcomed us with open arms, and it's been a really great community to be a part of. Thank you all very much.
Our next speaker is no stranger to the Bozeman Tea Party. In fact, he is one of our greatest leaders, and that is Henry Kriegel. Henry.
Guys, it's an honor to be here with you today. Have you heard from all the other speakers? I'll try not to repeat myself because a lot of good things have been already said. The war is being fought on many fronts. It's being fought against the women. It's being fought against our youth who are saddled with this debt. You'll hear later how it's being fought against the ranchers and the farmers in our state. It's being fought against healthcare providers and patients. In fact, this war is being fought against everybody on many fronts. That's the truth of the matter, and I'm honored here to stand with fellow freedom fighters and patriots who are taking on these issues one by one. So, I've got some good news and bad news. You probably heard the report that there's an expected $426 million, not surplus, but end of the biennium balance, $426 million. The bad news, however, is that we have $3 billion in unfunded liabilities. Over half of that cannot be amortized over 30 years. That's a lot of money to owe. In addition, as we said earlier, 41 cents out of every dollar spent in Montana comes from the federal government. What happens if the federal government, burdened by $16 trillion of debt and $100 trillion plus in unfunded liabilities, says, we have no more money for you, Montana? Worse than that, suppose they just go under. What happens to us? So, And you can all sign up to speak after, because we have open mic time. And I'll be glad to honor 90 seconds to anybody here. In addition, spending has increased over 57% over the last 10 years in real dollars after inflation is accounted for. While the rate of growth of our economy has been 1/3 of the growth of our state government. We simply can't afford continued spending. That's the bottom line. Now, it's also the reason why we can't afford Obamacare in Montana. And I have a petition that's at that table. You can sign that, and people are walking around with it. Stop Obamacare in Montana. Sign that petition. Please pick up literature on why it's a bad deal. Now, many of you have seen the fundraising letter by Senator Max Baucus claiming that we Tea Party extremists are out to suppress women's reproductive rights. Now, this is all a distraction to take your mind off the bigger issue, and that's government overspending and taxes. Now, I want to ask Senator Max Baucus, as Senate Finance Chairman and our senior senator from the state of Montana, where were you during the 3 big bank bailouts? You know where he was? He was fighting for them. Where were you during Obamacare? You know where he was? He was here. He wrote the bill. He came in here and promoted the bill back in '92. Where was he in the past 3 years when the U.S. Senate couldn't even write and pass a budget as Senate Finance Chairman? And yet he thinks we're that stupid to be distracted on a non-issue. Any case, we all know the research. Lower taxes leads to economic growth. That's the research. Why? Because it's more money in your pocket. You know how to spend it better. You know how to invest it in your businesses. You know what to do with it much better than the government. In fact, it enriches all of us. Lower taxes yields greater revenues for the government. And that's why we're here on tax day. So I'm not going to speak any further than that. Thank you so much for coming out today. You can sign up and speak later, but I have a very special guest for us now, and that's Jim Beers. He's a former U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service biologist. He held many positions there for over 30 years. He is also a whistleblower who was not protected by the whistleblower laws when he exposed that $45 to $60 million of federal tax money by the feds should have come back